Chairman of the Soil CRC Board, Dr. Paul Greenwood, AO, and members of the board, members and representatives of the CRC's 39 partner organisations, Soil CRC CEO Dr. Michael Crawford, staff and students, very welcome guests among us. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I begin by joining previous speakers in acknowledging and paying my respects to the traditional custodians of these lands, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. And I thank Elder Karen Hayward and Wheatbelt NRM Ranger Project Coordinator Jermaine Bomber Davis for sharing with us their truly valuable insights into Indigenous knowledge, knowledge systems, and some of the practices that they developed to care for and draw sustenance from the ancient landscape that forms the distinctive Wheatbelt region. Everyone in this soil-conscious and soil-literate audience knows how extraordinarily ancient and weathered this land is, and the connection between its extreme age and inherently infertile soils. They are the legacy of a geological history dating back an extraordinary 3 to 3.2 billion years ago to the supercontinent of Ur. Thinking about the immense span of time involved in producing that legacy makes talking about the legacy of an organisation that is barely 8 years old and that is going to conclude the term of its natural life at age 10 seems a little strange. But that is what I was asked to do today at this penultimate Participants Conference. With no big Participants Conference planned for next year, just one final wrap-up one in 2027. This is absolutely, and I'd go further and say, the critical time to be addressing the issue of the CRC's legacy, taking the opportunity of having not quite all, but certainly most of the partners together in this location to consider what's been achieved to date, what more could or should be done in the next 18 months or so to consolidate those achievements and to assure a lasting impact. Some of you might argue, perhaps, well, that's up to the Soil CRC management and board to manage this quite difficult process. It's a combination of reflection, but then of direction and priority setting. And certainly from the privileged position that I have as the CRC patron, observing aspects of the board's work and their discussions, I know that this has been a preoccupation for some time. But I think that the collaborative character of the Soil CRC makes it essential that all parts of the system join this important endeavour. And here I include also the students who are with us. Because when the CRC concludes, it's you, the scientists and researchers, the farmers and the managers, the land managers, the universities, the grower groups, the representatives of industry and of state government departments, and the students with long careers ahead of you who will still be working in this space, who will not only benefit from a strong legacy, but actually be part of making it an enduring one. Succession planning is a familiar term, and it's got a very specific meaning in a rural farming context. But in a broader sense, thinking about the Soil CRC's legacy and how to shape this is a type of succession planning there's not going to be a successor organisation. The CRC program has been running in Australia for about a quarter of a century, specifically precludes this. And although there are some other CRCs working on certain aspects of soil management, CRC Care is one, focused on soil contamination. The zero net emissions from agriculture is another, addressing agricultural emissions, but there will be nothing comparable to the Soil CRC as a research and adoption organisation centred on soil research and adoption. This CRC is historic as the largest collaborative soil research effort in Australia's history. And for this reason alone, we should make sure its impact is a lasting one. So what constitutes a legacy? Handing on something of value for the future. I touched on this in my address at the last Participants Conference, but if you accept the idea that leaving a legacy is not so much about leaving something for people, but in people, then the most obvious is the capacity building work that the Soil CRC has undertaken to develop, and I hope enthuse, at least that's my impression, that we enthuse a new generation of soil scientists, researchers, practitioners, and policymakers. I don't know whether you know this, but the inclusion of a PhD program to build our national R&D capacity and foster industry-ready graduates is actually a mandatory requirement for establishing a CRC. But CRCs vary in the quantum of PhD students they undertake to train. In the case of the Soil CRC, the contractual commitment with the Commonwealth Government was to deliver 46 commencements and 40 completions in the 10-year timeframe. In fact, in the actuals, there have been 57 commencements, well above the contractual figure. And although COVID caused some delays, there's every expectation that the required number of completions will be met by June 2027. So I don't think this is an area requiring an extra injection of energy or concentrated thinking at this conference to deliver better outcomes. But what I do want to take this opportunity to stress and to impress upon you when we're thinking about what constitutes a legacy is the quality of the work that the CRC has undertaken and the effort that the managers of the PhD program have committed to that goal of fostering industry-ready graduates. This has not been about ticking boxes and meeting targets. It's been about bringing students out of the university laboratories into the field, into the living laboratories on the farms, and the practical on-ground trials and projects that the CRC has in train, about connecting them with the end users, the grower groups and industry, about developing skills to improve communication and bridge communication gaps. This has already paid big dividends. Some of the graduates have moved into significant positions where their impact is already being felt and will surely only grow in the future. As the Soil CRC Patron, absolutely committed to vaunt its achievements, you could be forgiven at thinking, I'm looking at this a little bit through rose-coloured glasses, but the facts, and you're all into evidence and facts, the facts and the evidence and the statistics support my contention. According to the annual benchmarking study conducted by Cooperative Research Australia, the employment outcomes, the average is 1.8 students per CRC, and this is over a 25-year history. These statistics have been gathered, with only 16 completions so far. the Soil CRC is way above this, with 8. It was 7 when I wrote this 2 days ago. It's 8 because there's been another one added in the last 24 hours. 8 significant placements in industry, government, and research. Asking why this is so, the CRC's collaborative culture and its emphasis on building genuine partnerships is one factor. The fact that it is end-user driven and focused in all it does, and that's a quote from the current strategic plan, but it is absolutely fact. End-user driven and focused in all it does. That's another reason. I'm going to add a third. The reputation for excellence that the CRC has established and the profile it has achieved in the just on 8 years it has operated. Although, as you heard, I'm no longer the National Soils Advocate, the current government having regrettably abolished the position, I do remain, as you heard from Michael, actively engaged with soil advocacy nationally and internationally, and I can assure you that the Soil CRC is highly regarded in Australia and overseas. Its collaborative approach, linking science, industry, and farmers, is an admired model. Interest in its work from its partners and diverse stakeholders has always been strong, but as it has evolved and as it's moving into the final years of its operations, interest in its outputs, in the new knowledge, tools and practices that it was established to develop to help Australia's farmers better manage their soils and more broadly contribute to the well-being of the agricultural sector, is on an upward trajectory. It has sharpened noticeably. I understand that there is very real apprehension about the CRC ending, with a lot of questions being asked about what next. This is entirely understandable, but I also suggest to you that this is a really exciting time for everyone involved with the CRC because things are coming to fruition. Research is now being translated. Emphasis is shifting to adoption and outreach. And as all of this is going on, the outputs and the achievements are going to become more evident and more visible. I'm not sure that everyone appreciates just how rich those outputs are. The CRC has conducted an impressive body of work. It's produced, to quote one of the program managers yesterday, a wealth of information, great word, a wealth of information from 8 years' work. Somebody referred to the fact sheets. There is a fabulous library of material, really accessible and ready available, particularly including to me, not a scientist. I find them immensely readable and useful. And all of this is still happening. You're still in the process of creating very valuable assets, including some exciting and innovative new technologies, and you're going to hear some more about that later. All of this needs to be better understood. Richard talked about the stories. The success stories do need to be defined and shared much more. There are some formal evaluation processes and communication programs underway to help all achieve this, but most importantly, to return to where I started, the CRC management needs your support, your effort to make sure that this positive work continues beyond the life of the CRC, that its impact continues. That's where all the partners and stakeholders have a role to play. You have actually been a truly vital part in this collaborative arrangement in building this valuable legacy, because that's what it will amount to when the stock takes and the evaluations and the appraisals are done. But as both contributors and inheritors, you are uniquely placed to help carry on aspects of the CR's work and ensure that its impact will endure. We're brimming with ideas about who might be able to step up, who could help continue with some of these things. I know that there, as I say, there are a lot of questions about what are we going to do to secure the information, to use that wealth of data, to make this material accessible, to build on and extend the projects that have laid such a fabulous foundation. I know people are asking, how can we maintain the links that are very important? We heard that this morning from the grower groups. Yes, there are questions, but you, all working together, have got the capacity, and I hope the will, to make this CRC's contribution something that endures well beyond the life of the decade. Please, during the course of this conference, in the networking that's possible here and then beyond, think about ways that you can help assure a lasting legacy for this wonderful Soil CRC. Thank you.